RDU 98.5, and welcome back this morning to another audio antiquing. On today's show, I've got Andrew Schmidt, and we're talking about his AudioCulture article, Where Did All Those Cool Guys Go? Kevin Hill's photos of Christchurch rock bands from 1968 to 1980. Now, Kevin Hill's collection of photographs of Christchurch rock bands from 1968 to 1980 is one of the most comprehensive groupings of images on a cohesive New Zealand music era I have seen in 20 years as a music historian, with nearly 1,200 copyrighted photographs. The shots are mostly black and white with varying degrees of artistic merit, and there's a lot of repetition, but even so, it is a treasure chest of period detail. For an experienced reader of photographic text, there is a huge depth of additional information. Oh, love that wee bio there, Andrew. How are you going?
That's okay. Good, thank you.
And I love it because if only the listeners could see the first image that's up here. It's a fantastic one of Kevin Stanton and Steve Gilpin, fragments of time at the Aranui Hotel. Just when you see these images, what kind of feeling does it, I guess, provoke for you to then write such a great article about this?
Well, I think with that one in particular, there's a very real chemistry between Steve Gilpin and Kevin Stanton, and you just see they're smiling, they're checking in on each other, so it's going well, and I think that boded well for their future in My Sex, where Steve was very much an active frontman, and Kevin was the main songwriter, and I think he brought a slightly punky edge to that group as well. So, you know, it's good to see that the chemistry was there pretty much from the beginning.
Oh, 100%. And you've continued further and you've said every photo is dated and identifies the musician's band and the place or the venue where they were taken. This precise dating reveals how group lineups changed relative to time and enable a rough sketch timeline of the rise and fall of venues. I feel like that's really important, especially talking about the rise and fall of venues, because that is something that is very prominent now in this current climate. Do you kind of want to just discuss a bit more about that, with this precise dating and, watching lineup change, rise and falls of venues?
Yeah, as a music historian, you often get bands digging into their scrapbooks and their boxes of memorabilia and giving you photographs to illustrate the story. But there's really ever the exact detail you need as a historian to date them, and any other extra information like where are they actually playing. So you just get the blank image, the image itself, really. So that in itself, I think, is pretty valuable. Um, and when you have a collection of photographs over time, you can see how they evolve really as a band because you get details like what instruments are they using. And technology is important to rock and roll and music because
Yeah.
it changes and is utilized by the bands. You get the way they dressed, which is interesting. That's not the way probably the normal folks would have dressed in Christchurch or anywhere else in New Zealand at the time. So there were flares, the hair was a bit longer, the shirts are interesting.
They definitely are. Oh, in particular, it's quite funny you saying the shirt's been interesting. Brian Colton from the News, this 1980 photo, he's got, it looks like satin leopard print peering over his shirt.
Well, yeah, that's very rock and roll, I think.
It is very right.
And Brian went from being in sort of covers bands in Christchurch to being in the Bon Marché and the News, who were two very important bands in the city in very late 70s into the 1980s. They eventually moved over to Australia, to Melbourne, where they played hundreds of shows. Didn't release
Wow.
a record over there, but released an album on Music World in Christchurch. And Music World was a budget label, but it was based in the city, and they had a desire to release some of what was going on there. And uh, the News were a band who had a residency at Aranui
Oh
and were
wow.
drawing crowds every week. So it was a good bet that people would buy it and would
Yeah.
notice it.
Oh wow. Oh my gosh. Well, actually, while you're on such a good, role at the moment, can you please, yeah, just explain some of your favorite photos and why, they mean a lot to you?
I love seeing the early photographs of people like Sharon O'Neill when before they become famous and put their records out. There's a guy called Kevin Cliff there, and he was involved in a band called The Chapter, who had a big hit in the early 70s. But Kevin goes right back to Timaru, where he was in a band called The Boys. He was
Wow.
the drummer, but he could sing like Paul McCartney, apparently. So he was in demand, and
Ooh.
they went up to Hamilton and became part of a band called Tomorrow's Love, who put out a fantastic single called Seven and Seven Is. So he had this long history before he got back to Christchurch and formed the bands he was playing in there. He was also one of the founders of Tandem Studios, which was an important studio in the city. A, a, where you could go for quite high quality recordings, and that wasn't typical in the South Island at that point. Most of the studios were in Wellington and to a lesser degree Auckland.
Yes. Oh, wow. It is really cool, especially when you say it like that, because yeah, how big has the expansion, I guess, been from that, just focusing on South Island in terms of, yeah, recording studios and stuff from here?
Well, there were very few right through that era.
Yeah,
Christchurch bands tended to go to Auckland where they could get residencies so they could, earn a living. But that's also where the some of the rich studios were. If they wanted to go on a major label like HMV, they would go
yeah.
to Wellington, which is where the big studios were. So
Mm.
they weren't able to record locally, and that meant they either had to move or there was extra cost involved. I think when you have a good local studio, you get more good local recordings. That's
Mm.
definitely what happened into the 80s when the studios started developing down south.
Oh, definitely. And you've actually written it very well here. Put it all together in a big pattern picture of the shifting pop cultural geography of Christchurch rock and its attendant community between 1968 and 1980 begins to emerge. Not the complete picture, mind, but a fantastic platform for a narrative of cultural history. And I think you couldn't have said that any better. And you've got this incredible photo of John Purvis and Nancy Keele from Baby at the Christchurch Town
Yeah.
Hall, 1974, just serving Joan Jett and like borderline John Lennon. It's just, it's fabulous, And so
Yeah.
for you, being, a music historian, and this is what you do, I guess, does it feel emotional at all for you to like go through and see these years of musicians and their passions and their truths?
I definitely feel connected to them
Yeah.
because this is my community, and
Yeah.
these are the pioneers and the founders and the elders of that community, and their success and their failures even are
Yeah.
lessons that future groups would learn. And as historians, we get to write about that, and that adds texture and drama to the story to have that amount of information available.
Oh no, definitely. And there's some more great ones. I would like to talk about this one in particular. It just says Beach, New Brighton, 1974, and it looks like there's just a crowd of people all wearing. It looks like they're all wearing white, but I'm unsure if
Ah,
they actually are or not.
okay. Well, I guess it's summer. It's summer and it's the daytime probably, so the lighter clothes make more sense. But I'm not sure why. Maybe it was a themed show that
Potentially.
sometimes happened.
Oh,
Beach are an
awesome.
interesting band. They had a great and quite a big national hit, which whose name I can't recall. But they also had a guy called Brent Parlane in the band, and he went
Mm,
on to release solo records, and then, like a lot of the best South Island groups, moved to Australia and become a prominent performer in Melbourne, in particular.
yes. It's quite it seems to be such a big thing for a lot of Christchurch and or New Zealand musicians where they build it over here and then they're like, oh, I'm going to Melbourne, I'm going to Naarm.
Well, Melbourne had a fantastic and a big local scene, so
Yeah.
they could play multiple shows across the city, uh, and play to multiple crowds within the city. So maybe Christchurch had two or three, Auckland might have had
Mm,
at best five or six venues. In a place like Melbourne, you would have 20 to 30 venues. So they could make a living, develop an
yeah.
audience, and then once they got that following, then interest the local record companies over there and release records. And that wasn't something that was as easy to do in New Zealand.
No, and I mean, even to this day, it's still not as easy. Hey,
No.
no, definitely
No,
not.
no. Our musicians are very determined people, and they're very
Yeah.
talented. But it's a tough road.
It is. It really is. But that's why I think as well it's so special to have these photos which just encapsulate such important moments throughout so many times. And it's quite funny because this bottom one, which I think is actually the cover of Kevin Hill's limited edition book of mostly
Okay.
Christchurch images, they almost look like they were all taken from the same gig, even though they weren't. Like, if you kind of get what I mean, like it's really special.
Okay, maybe he had a favorite spot where you could get a great photo. And looks like that is on the right-hand side of the stage, just in the, or wouldn't be a photographer's pit for this level of group, but where the photographer's pit would be for big bands.
100%. Oh, and is there anything else that you would like to share, with the RDU listeners, Andrew?
Look, if you've got photos at home, if your dad or your uncle or somebody in your family was in a band and they have these images there, they're valuable. Hold on to them. And if your relatives are still alive, have a chat to them about it because they probably stopped talking about it years ago.
Yeah.
Have a talk to them and then put them to one side because I think these are things that should go into the archives. And I think there's going to be more and more interest as time goes on in these groups.
Thank you, Andrew. That was such a beautiful way to end the interview.
You're welcome.
I definitely am. But no, thank you so much for your time today, Andrew. It's always such a pleasure chatting with you. And again, another fantastic article for AudioCulture.
Lovely. Thanks, Bex.
Awesome.
Have a good
Thanks,
day.
Andrew. Ka kite. Thank you.
See you later.
See you
Bye.
later. RDU 98.5. That has been another incredible interview with Andrew Schmidt on his AudioCulture article, Where Did All Those Cool Guys Go? Kevin Hill's photos of Christchurch rock bands from 1968 to 1980. Feel free to check this article out on audioculture.co.nz and any other articles by Andrew Schmidt, as they're also very, very interesting. Until next time, team, thank you.